I think it's up to the individual if they're satisfied with their movement. I think that's, predicated on the gratefulness that they're able to have in their heart at the time. And I would say, yeah, I'm moving at a level where I feel satisfied now because I'm grateful to move again. I know what it's like to have it all stripped away.
What's up, guys? Today's guest is a professional athlete and also director of Norml Brand. Please welcome to the JAMCast, Deshay Jenkins.
Hey, where am I looking? Over here?
Yeah, there you go.
With all their iPhones, we got ourselves a little audience.
And now you can look at me for the duration of it.
Nice. Much better view.
Yo, what's up, man? Welcome to Los Angeles. This is so cool that we got to make this happen. I know you visited town to briefly head down to Kings of the Concrete's jam over the weekend.
Yeah, honestly, it was a last-minute decision. Like, do you ever have that adventure where it's a split-second door of opportunity and you either choose to take it or you don't?
Yeah.
A lot of times it's when there's already a lot going on. So I had just gotten back from a Psychedelics conference.
Wow.
And I was on my phone on the way back, and I had seen a really cool tricker. His name is Carlo, but he goes by Krez. I'm not sure if you've met him.
Yeah, okay.
There was this group chat that, I had been an observer in for a long time. I'm not really active in the chat, but he said that he was going down here, and I figured I hadn't seen a lot of my friends in a long time, especially in the parkour and tricking community, and so I decided I would head down. And so we left at 2 a.m. and trekked down until 7. I went to 24 Hour Fitness, got my steam room and showering, felt like a new man, and proceeded to have a 23-hour day.
Crazy, man. It's so wild. Before that, I hadn't seen you since, I think we said, maybe 2017 Santorini or 2018 Art of Motion, all the way back then.
Yeah, and
crazy.
I was on a wild ride and partying. And it was just such a flash of events, and but I do remember you very vividly, and my memory is, I have a selective memory, but I don't get to choose. I don't get to select.
Man, and what's so crazy is I think what you were explaining to me since then was that you actually sustained a pretty major injury that kind of had a huge impact upon your movement journey and obviously your life as a whole, which is so difficult for a lot of us because movement is such a huge aspect of our life. It, for some people it defines us, for others it's such a huge, impact. I know that can affect a lot of things, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually as well. So what exactly happened?
Let me tell you, man. As I adjust my back,
yes.
I always say when people ask, "Do you get hurt in parkour?" And over this last decade, I've had a few injuries. Only one of which was actually from doing something, in parkour that justifies being hurt, and that was my first injury. Hyperextending my knee.
Yeah.
It was because of a mat. I had done an inward front, and I used to go so high on those.
Yeah.
And that knee went. That's a whole nother story. But this injury had nothing to do with parkour. It was at the end of a work day. I was on the trampoline and I was doing seat drops.
No way.
Yeah. Right.
Wow.
And there's a valuable lesson that I had learned after sustaining that injury. And I guess there's a couple lessons, one of which was, why am I doing what I'm doing? Mm-hmm. Am I doing it for others? Am I doing it because I'm enjoying myself? I feel like there's been times where I've injured myself showing off.
Yeah.
And so now when I do something, any movement, especially if it's something that I have to focus on, I try to drop into myself and really make sure that I'm doing this for me. Yeah. And 2 is to pay attention. Because I was doing seat drops and I ended up upside down somehow and just totally scorpioned on that trampoline, and that moment right there changed my life forever. In so many ways. I wouldn't take it back.
Wow.
I'd take it back.
Yeah.
Making puns, I don't even realize.
And so what was the final diagnosis on the injury, and what did you sustain?
So I grew up in a very low income family, so I didn't really have the medical resources to figure it out until about a year later. I was able to get an MRI. I was able to really kind of hone in on the injury after I had been doing my recovery process. And it turned out that it was a torn ligament near the spine.
Wow.
And it was a bulging disc in my L4, L5.
Wow.
And so I never had thought that I would go through an injury like that. And I had watched my mother go through a very similar thing, both from a slip in the tub and from an accident on our family's like little ski boat that my grandma got. My grandma's a gangster. But I watched that happen. So I knew that I didn't want to take any painkillers for my back, and I had watched a lot of tragedy happen from taking that route. So I recovered slowly, but was never really as strong as I was. The real nail in the coffin for me was when I had a training session. This was about a year after that trampoline accident. I knew I had to warm up and cool down extensively before and after training, and I did a backflip at a festival sober while I had warmed up, but it was after an intense training session.
Okay.
And when I landed, everything was fine, and just a couple of days after that, I was in a lot of pain, and I couldn't lift my legs. That started the journey of really digging deep. I think the furthest that I've ever had to dig, and I had to rehabilitate myself. That was my first introduction to self-discipline, self-consistent discipline. The Army gave me an introduction to it, and my parents surely tried. Or my mom and my grandma, bless them. But I did PT 2 times a day, 7 days a week. Wow. for a while. So,
how many years are you now removed from that injury, and are you back to training? And I guess a better question: are you back to training at a level that you're satisfied with?
Asking the good questions. I guess that's why
you're here
on the JAMCast.
Exactly.
That's a few questions. I think I'm gonna go for how long have I been removed from that injury? I don't think I'll ever be truly removed from that injury. Back problems stay with you, and that's something that I've observed in my life. But I'm very grateful that I am able to lift my legs again.
Yeah. Yes. Back roll. PK back roll for the win, dog.
I'm glad I have Reconnect. That was totally unplanned.
Yeah. An epic save.
Thank you. My Ukemi has saved my life
for real
a few times, including motorcycle accidents.
Yeah, 100. People don't realize the importance of brake falls.
Yeah. If only I could realize that on that trampoline, huh?
Man. And so how many years ago did this happen?
Oh, man. I have such a weird track of time.
Is it pre-COVID lockdowns?
It was definitely pre-COVID.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was pre-COVID.
Okay.
Man, maybe 2019.
Okay.
Maybe possibly 2018. I feel like it was 2019.
Damn.
I'm not sure, because I was training at a pretty good level. know. My memory is a quagmire of events, and I think that part of that is a trauma defense. You know, because I don't have my childhood accessible to me really. Like fragments pop up.
Totally.
It's almost like going through a Jason Bourne experience in amnesia. Yes. But I think that another reason for that is just because I'm taking in so much of the present, and especially now. But at this point, I'm trying to drop into the present while being able to reintegrate with, you know, the rest of my life. And that is a journey that I'll always be on, I suspect.
And so at this point, I have seen clips of you jumping around still. So obviously you can train, but I guess, like, you know, just to get back to that one question, are you training at a level that you're satisfied with, or is that something that you aspire to or may not be able to achieve again?
I think regardless of physical ability, you know, even if I wasn't able to really, you know, train at the level that I was in maybe like 2017 or 2018, 2019. I think it's up to the individual if they're satisfied with their movement. I think that's, you know, predicated on the gratefulness that they're able to have in their heart at that time. Yeah. And I would say, yeah, you know, I'm moving at a level where I feel satisfied now because I'm grateful to move again. I know what it's like to have it all stripped away and to have an identity crisis at the same time. That's another story that we'll get to. But you know, it's funny that you asked, because I actually made my first little parkour edit with Tyler and Sean Higgins cameo in there last night at Open Gym.
Awesome.
My goal was to just get moving, keep myself disciplined with the warm-up, and I did. I was able to do the warm-up and and not take forever doing it. Yeah. For me, I have to go in a little corner somewhere away from everybody because I'm easily distracted socially, and, you know, I don't want to spend half the session warming up if I don't have to.
Totally.
Yeah, like 10, 15 minutes of solid warm-up, you know, I feel like I can get myself going. And I was able to do frog gainer or monkey gainer. Yeah. I guess it depends on where you are and in time and in location, but no, you know what, actually, I guess it was just a regular con gainer because the block was elevated. I was able to do swing cast full, and I was able to do handstand gainer, and like those, like I came out of the session like feeling great. Like the tech didn't leave, and I think that part of that is from the coaching that I've continued to do regardless of injury. You know, even I think that my injuries through my time have made me a better coach. Yeah. And, you know, teaching and still coaching high level guys like Riker, you know, I have to keep my, you know, my mental technical prowess, you know, still there and still up to date. And even though I'm not on social media as much as I used to be, posting every day, and although I haven't been as connected with the community as I would like to be in, you know, while I'm pursuing this transition, this next chapter of my life, I still keep an eye out, and I still watch the movement at a very technical level, and I still have a great appreciation for it. I feel like I could be 80 years old and, you know, watch these people move and hopefully understand what they're doing still.
I know the level these days is so incredible. It's astronomical, the base level around the world these days.
Are you a betting man?
Yeah.
You want to make a bet?
Okay.
This is a bet that I've been making with a few people. I bet you in the next 5 years, double cork pre to a rail will happen.
Oh, I could see that.
Yeah.
I won't bet against that.
Like a rail like this.
I won't bet against that.
We're both on the same side.
I think it's possible too, yeah. Because the amount of people that get double cork pre is already astronomical.
When I know that, even though I know in my heart that it will happen, but even so, I will be blown back and amazed
Totally.
when I see it.
Oh, of course. Yeah. No, it's so crazy to think about, but I think it'll happen. Yeah, I definitely think that's possible.
Yeah.
So, obviously to get to this point and to still be able to recall upon training within your body like that, it only stems from you having a deep-rooted background in the sport. And so how did this official movement journey start way back when? I guess taking it back as far as we can,
I love answering that question. Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
Oh. I thought I had a collared shirt on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. No way.
This, these 3 tattoos that I have the BAM tattoo here.
Yeah.
And then this one, all 3 were done by a friend from the Army.
Okay.
His name was Booth. We did it in his house. This one was $60. That's a great tattoo.
Yeah, totally.
When I played Assassin's Creed, I think originally I remember thinking that the game was like, what? That sounds dumb. I just thought I thought everything was dumb. I was a cynical little kid running around, just being a little menace. But I actually played and it touched me. The exploration, the architecture, the experience of jumping around. When I was playing, it was like press X to free run. And I was like, what the hell is that?
Yes.
So I look it up on YouTube, and free running was something I was completely oblivious to. Like, I saw someone do a wall flip, and I thought that can only be done in the Matrix.
Yeah, totally.
And so from there, I just got up on the rooftops and started jumping around. I remember my first front flip was off a tractor into a tan bark pit.
Okay.
Yeah. What about, I'm curious about you, Travis. When was the first time you really started to get into disciplined movement?
So I've told this story briefly, but I had an extensive martial arts background because my parents. So I'm a multi-generational martial artist where I started martial arts at 6 months old.
6 months?
Yeah. I started my first competition. I was 3 in the 7-year-old division. And then started shortly thereafter competing on the national circuit all the way up until the age of 14. And around the age of 10 is where I started doing my first flips. And actually, one of our last guests on the JAMCast from 2 episodes ago, Eric Betts, who was a Power Ranger and on a show called WMEC Masters, he taught me how to do my first aerial and back handspring when I was around 10. And so I kind of just implemented it into my martial arts. Hit teenage years, that's when I started to rebel against my parents and not want to be stuck training all the time. I wanted to experience being a high school kid. I wanted to experience partying and other sports and dating girls. So I turned my back on traditional martial arts. But it was during that time that tricking was really relevant. Right before I retired, my last 2 major competitions, I competed against a guy named Steve Terada.
Terada.
Yeah.
He's from Australia, right?
No, he's here. He's from here. He's the Japanese guy from here.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of someone else.
You're thinking Scott Skelton, probably.
That's the person who made the Terada grab,
yes,
right?
Correct. Yeah,
wow, cool.
Yeah, so I got to see it in person, and I was like, what is these tricks this guy's doing? And it really inspired me to start my own tricking journey. So during those years of rebelling against martial arts is when I picked up that. Fast forward, I went to college, and then when I was in college, I met a kid my senior year who came to the tumbling class and was doing these tricking moves. He wasn't that good at it. And I was like, you trying to trick? He's like, yeah, I just found out about it. I'm like, I'll help you. I've been doing tricking for like 5-6 years. He's like, well, I'm good at parkour. And I'm like, oh, I've never done that. And he's like, well, I'll trade you. And then that's how it all started,
Do you remember his name?
Yeah. Oh, of course. He was a teammate of mine eventually. His name was Andrew Ng. He was huge in the LA parkour and San Diego parkour scenes. And I've told this story before, but check this out. After a semester of school, he decides to quit his freshman year to go to LA and be a stuntman. And I'm like, you're crazy, man. You're like very new at all this stuff. I continue to go to school for the rest of my senior year. I get a call my senior year to come down and do a TV show in LA for Spike called Deadliest Warrior.
I love that show.
So I was my first like TV show back as an adult. I come down, I walk into the place where we have our rehearsal, and the first guy that walks in is Andrew Ng, and it was his first job as well. And I was like, we're meant to be here. Ended up being roommates for the next 2 to 3 years.
Synchronicity.
Yeah, exactly, bro. So meant to be. Yeah, meant to be by far.
You you certainly have a movie-worthy story.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And you'll probably recognize this name, but I'm through Andrew Ng. His training partner was King David. And that's how I met. And that's how I met King David. King David was one of the competitors on MTV's Ultimate Parkour Challenge, and yeah, that's how I met him, and he became one of my teammates.
Is that the one that played on MTV?
Yeah.
You know, I remember seeing that when I was way younger, and it was in my grandma's room. It's like it's a very intimate memory. That's the thing about my memory recall is like I can't, you know, pragmatically recall things, especially when they're like in the mid memory, like 2 weeks ago or something like that. But I have these moments where I drop into the memory. It's like, wow, I can feel that.
You remember those distinct moments.
Those.
Crazy.
And I remember, you know, just seeing that and being like, that's amazing. Yeah. It didn't really click to me like that was, you know, like parkour.
Yeah,
you know?
Totally. It was a little too early for its time, in my own personal opinion.
Yeah.
Like, we were ahead of its time, and if we'd been like 5 years later, I feel like that show would have been a huge success, you know, huge success.
Well, you know, you are giving so many people a platform, and I think that it's making its comeback, and
it is. Yeah.
And, you know, I think that now it has a stronger community and it has more experience behind it. I think that it has people that are a little bit older and have been on the business side too. And that's absolutely important in the balance of that passion and movement and, you know, experience in business.
Totally.
And I just want to see people succeed in doing what they love. And, you know, people deserve to move in this sport at the level that they find satisfactory, push the boundaries of the sport, and be able to make a living from it. Like they should be able to sustain not only themselves, but, you know, like the things that themselves, and be able to provide to the people that they care about, you know, like. For Didi, he's sending money back to his family like all the time, and I like him, like, you know, specifically. He's one of the world's best.
Yes,
and you know he's working hard right now, and you know he's like his story is something that touches my heart. You know, when we do have our conversations. And we were at Tyler's house and we were talking, you know, I won't share too much. That's his story to share, but I am at the verge of tears.
Yeah, same.
I'm not a person that's scared of crying either, but just, I want to hold that space for him and listen to the story. It's incredible. And, you know, I feel like people like that should have a living where they can buy a house and, you know, be able to retire and be able to, you know, bring up the next generation and work and really focus on that. And while we're not quite there yet, I feel like with people like you and like me and like all the other people who have love for the sport and love for the people behind the sport, I feel like it'll happen.
Yeah, man. Didi's story is so incredible. Just from where he came from to where he's at. A lot of people think that since he's in LA, he's made it, but the struggle is real, especially living in a city like Los Angeles. And like I said, it's his story to tell, so I won't divulge too much of it. But I've had a lot of one-on-ones with him, you know, over time, even most recently. And so I know what he's going through. And so I hope that, you know, like you said, he's able to get to a point where he's self-sustaining himself, still able to support his family. But it is something that's so incredible. You know, some of the best guys in the world in other sports are multimillionaires, and they have these multi-million-dollar contracts, and they're buying exorbitant things that they probably shouldn't, but they have access to this amount of money. And then meanwhile, you know, like you said, one of the top guys in our sports is still, you know, just trying to, you know, feed himself, but also feed his family. And it just seems such a skewed perspective in the world, you know.
And it's people putting their bodies on the line, like, you know, people like Max Antal, you know, winning NAPC, doing double side pre, you know, like a lot of these guys are still like in the eyes of the community, they're breaking boundaries, but I don't believe they're getting what they deserve.
Agreed.
In return for what they're doing, because I don't think a human being's ever fucking done that before.
Yeah, exactly, bro. Exactly. I feel you on that completely.
Like when I seen that, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So I want that for the next generation. And, you've made an outstanding platform and living for yourself. And I'm happy for you. And
Thank you, man.
I want to see that for the rest of my friends too.
Same, man. And one of the things that's a great segue to get into is that I know one of the companies that you're a part of that we mentioned at the top of the show, as being a director of Norml Brand. I know Norml Brand has been championing trying to put athletes on a larger platform for quite some time. I think one of the things that's really cool and unique about the company, for those that may not know, is that you guys have rotated sponsored athletes throughout the duration of the existence of the company. And it even is stated on the website, so to speak, that like you guys rotate athletes to try to give up and comers the opportunity to showcase themselves.
I appreciate you reading that.
Oh, Dora, of course, dude. I've known the brand since forever, but yeah, of course, man. I'm super tapped in, and obviously some of the premier athletes in the sport are guys that I watch now. For example, like Jared Ludy, for example, an absolute monster,
Consistent monster too.
Consistent monster. And yeah, and so just briefly, how did you get involved with that company, and what's your current role over there, I guess, with trying to continue to push this brand for not only, Norml itself, but for the entire parkour community as a whole?
I'll tell you after this hydrating break.
Like I said, we're not shy on this show. Hydration is key. We always have a bottle on the table.
I know. Yeah, I actually bought this. I got this at Ross. It tastes so funny. It's like mineral water, I guess.
Ah, okay.
I'll take those minerals though.
Yeah.
So my involvement with Norml Brand started with going to Holland and meeting Rusty and Matt Bowen. I feel like it's an implanted memory that a former director, Tim, was there as well, but
Okay.
I didn't actually meet him until I went to London for a Norml Brand Jam. That was a whole nother adventure. But when I got there, the pants are great. I don't usually shop for clothes. I shop for clothes the first time in like 2 years yesterday at Ross, and found myself some great stuff. I'm not sponsored by them, but hey, maybe I should be. And I just remember really loving the clothes, their quality.
Yeah. They are, yeah.
I didn't really watch any of the OG like hard work videos like with like Jaden and Alfie, but I had seen the clips and I had just really messed with the brand. Mm-hmm. And my memory recall is a little hazy, but I remember also just having a good time with Rusty and Bowen as well. And it was a time where we were staying with Dom, Valtteri, Jaden, Alfie, a homie from Australia, Ashley, and it was just like it was a really great time. And so I remember being inspired, seeing Nate and the other team members do their thing. And so I was like, hey, I want to be part of this, and so I had pressed really hard for like a year to be a part of the brand. And I think it helped that I had a good relationship with Rusty, and I showed that I was a hard worker and a go-getter. And so eventually I did get sponsored. And when I was doing my announcement video, I actually remember getting pretty injured during that trip. It was at NAPC. Oh man, it's all coming back to me. So that was that was such a bittersweet time, honestly. And the story involves getting my big toe stepped on and crying about it. When I was at NAPC, this is actually when I'm getting sponsored as an athlete. The first day I get to the gym, like the first 10 minutes, and this actually loops around to one of your first questions about the injury and why I do some of the things that I do. There was a jump, and I was warmed up enough and to be doing some other movements. And I was just excited because have you been to Origins?
Yeah. Just one time, very briefly.
It's an amazing gym.
Yeah,
That
totally.
mural that they have.
I've seen it tons of times, obviously, in the
cool.
comps. Yeah.
I was just so excited to be there. And there was a jump, nothing like too hard. It was a jump that I feel like I could, make a crane on or maybe after a couple of tries. And someone had asked that I do it, and I don't think that I was really prepared, and I don't think that I really wanted to do it, but I had been asked. Now, and I was younger, and I was in a place where, like, I'm here to prove myself, and so I'm gonna do this jump. I could do it, and I go, and I immediately sprain my foot.
Oh.
And so I'm in crutches for most of NAPC.
Damn, brutal.
And
brutal.
It was brutal, and it was a lesson. And I got back to the place where I could, walk on my own again. And that's when I did the shooting for my announcement video. And what ended up happening is I did a palm flip to like these set of stairs, and I don't know what happened, but I think my foot may have scraped, but I got spooked and I fractured my toe on the landing because I just opened up way too early and just came down. Then things got really hard. Both feet. Yeah. Both feet were messed up.
Totally.
And I was in these crutches, and
pretty crucial for parkour to have your feet.
Pretty crucial, like unless you're who's someone that does hand. What's his name?
Tim Sheaf used to. Livewire used to be on his hands.
Livewire, and there's a b-boy who also used to do some parkour stuff.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name, but he's really good. I didn't have my feet, and even walking was damn near impossible for me. I'm actually not sure how, I got back home. I hope one day I can access those memories. But at the end of NAPC, I felt really crushed, and I don't think that I was sure that I was going to get sponsored. It felt like it was all going to slip away.
Yeah, totally.
And, in this pursuit of coming here, and proving myself, I had walked away with, 2 injured feet. And, through all that, Rusty still decided to sponsor me anyway. And so I had healed, and by the way, wrapping back around, someone came in for a hug, super good intentions, had stepped on that big toe.
Wow.
At the end of NAPC, I did cry about it immediately because I think that's the only time I've ever cried from pain plus a broken ego and spirit.
Yeah.
All of it together is just like, oh, my toe and all of this. And I cried. And, luckily I am not, I'm not scared to cry. So
yeah.
I let it out, and that was a humbling time. But, I ended up doing my announcement video as a compilation of clips that I had, and I spent my time with Norml Brand as an athlete. And after a couple of years, I had stepped behind the veil as a director And when I did so, I was doing so with the experience that I had from sessions and all of that time as a co-founder and as a GM. And I wanted my contribution to be one of structure, professionalism, when it comes to accountability and timeliness, and some sort of framework in our operations that we can refer to. So I built digital infrastructure and a digital HQ. I built the lanes of communication for the team, and that took a lot of work. It was unpaid. Rusty's been pouring his heart and his soul into the brand for, I think, the past decade.
Yeah,
and
almost 11 years.
Yeah, almost 11 years, and he's still like working for. That man's interesting. He seems to be pretty happy as long as he's contributing and making clothes and being a part of the culture. I applaud him for that. Yeah. And at the same time, I want to see him, be able to make his living full time from Norml Brand, and I want to see him get the reciprocation from the decade of work that he's put into the brand, and I want to see him succeed, as a thank you for giving me a platform and giving me a chance at recognition and all these other athletes. It sounds like in the previous golden age of Norml Brand, when they were still a small UK team, Rusty and Tim and Bowen would take Alfie and Jay personally and out of their pockets and go and take them places and feed them. And they were, like true mentor figures. And, having an international team is not an easy thing. Yeah. And, it's hard to get everybody on the same track. With parkour guys, it's like herding cats almost a lot of the times. But, with all that infrastructure that I had striven to bring as a director, it's still new. It feels like a rebirth. I trust that the new guys, Jake, Jared, Tamoya, are all going to, make us proud. They already do. And that's the reason why, I've chosen them. And I'm proud to have gone from an athlete to someone who has almost executive decision over, the team's direction. And I just really want to see these guys succeed, and I want to give them a platform. It's really difficult to do in pursuit of all the other things happening, and, I'm uncertain where my role will be indefinitely in the future. I've definitely built the infrastructure and taken a bit of a step back and let these guys, play into their roles. I just want them to have ownership of, of the brand that they have worked so hard to be sponsored by. And I want them to feel that feeling that I had of accomplishment. And I see that in guys like, Tamoya and guys like Jake. Jared's doing pretty damn well for himself. And, with Spyglass and with everything he's accomplished, we're glad to have him on board, and he's proud to be with us. It's the younger guys and that next generation that makes me really, really excited to support.
And so, obviously, for anyone that's listening out there that may be one of those younger, newer generation guys, how do you guys select athletes? How can they get on your radar, and what do you look for as far as potential sponsorees?
Man's asking all the right questions. I feel like that's still a process that is being played around with, but we definitely we see who they are outside of just their movement. Yeah, because anyone could throw hard tricks, but how disciplined are you? How likely are you to respond to a message? How likely are you to be able to be reached, and how likely are you to bring forth your own mental and emotional contribution to the brand to help build this? Like I said, you know, I want these guys to have ownership and a say in the clothes and in the direction. So if they're just doing ham moves, but they're not motivated in the other aspects of their life, then, you know, that bridge isn't going to be made. And I can only hope that any athlete that would seek to be with Norml Brand or any brand takes into consideration who they are and their character outside of just the movement that they put into themselves. Totally. And those things are totally important, man. Like being able to be reached and message back and things like that are so important. That's why I recommend Discord as a tool for bringing people together. All the channels and everything. I got into that with crypto. I'm a super noob at crypto, like very, very recently, and I was wowed by the power of that tool to bring people together, because before it was just messaging people here and there and here, and you know, that's where that digital infrastructure and those lanes of communication had to be brought together to, you know, facilitate something like an international team.
Yeah.
So to answer that question, like really wrap it up, someone who is constantly training, someone who still has a lot of room to grow, someone who's, you know, preferably in that next generation, who's coming up and just needs a platform, and someone who is dedicated to their craft and responsive and responsible. So, yeah. Did I answer the question?
No, totally, man. And so obviously this is a question where we can get into it as much as you want or as much as you don't want to. We can always cut it out as well. No. That's the beauty of not being live. But one of the other things that I know you were heavily involved in, a lot of people probably associated you with, was being one of the directors and people over at Sessions Gym, which is, you know, one of the facilities up in Northern California. What is your current, I guess, state of affairs over there? Are you still involved with Sessions, or are you not involved with Sessions anymore?
You know, I can say that I love everyone there.
Okay.
And I should visit more. I've just been really, really dedicated to building myself. And in order to do so, I've had to step back from the identity that I've tied myself so closely to with Sessions. It was my everything.
Yeah, totally.
Sessions was like my child. And frankly, all of those students that I was close with were like my children, and you know, still are. I watch them grow, and each time I see him, like Rara, he's like a man now. I remember seeing him when he was like this. He's like,
he's a monster.
He's like, hey, Deshay, I'm Rara. Like,
he's a monster.
Oh my gosh. I'm in my heart, I'll always be a co-founder, and you know, I want to see them succeed. I'm sure that they will, because you've met Angel, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Angel's a fucking warrior, man, and he's wise. I feel like anything that guy puts his mind to, like, he'll do it. Nice. But he has the support and infrastructure now that I helped create over those 6 years, and that the new coaches have taken on, and I trust all of those guys. And you know, my brother Donovan, the coaches, the junior coaches, the senior coaches. Anderson, I hope you watch this. You're killing it, man. You know, all of those guys are like, they're my family, and they make me proud.
Oh yeah.
And I know that I will always, you know, always be loved there. So, yeah.
Good terms, yeah.
Good terms.
I think that's a good segue too, though, because obviously you stated that you stepped away by choice to focus on yourself and your own well-being physically and mentally. So let's just delve into that. I feel like that's one of the main reasons why you're here is to talk about this, because it's something that I don't necessarily always get the opportunity to speak to with some of our younger guests that are on the show. They're still discovering life and figuring things out, and they have the ability to focus solely upon their movement because of lack of other responsibilities in life and things like that. So
Be grateful for it.
yeah, exactly. Such a simpler life.
Yeah.
So where are you at right now as far as that personal journey is concerned? And I feel like it'll help delve into a larger conversation that we had spoken about over the weekend and where you're at right now currently.
I feel like right now I am working on reintegrating with a lot of the pieces of me that have been missing in my pursuit of being a pro athlete and of being a good GM and co-founder. I've been in this box for so long and have neglected the other aspects of myself.
Mm-hmm.
The side of me that's a musician, the artist side of me, the adventurer in me that has nothing to do with parkour. And, coming out of this, it could be a box or it could be a womb of movement.
Yes, yes.
Breaking out of that and reintegrating with those parts is something that I'm still feeling out for myself, and I'm enjoying it. It's been an adventure, and I've dealt with a lot of loss, particularly with movement. I've just barely in this year recovered from that back injury and have been able to move again, and have been able to have even the opportunity to have that as an option. And right now it's a particularly interesting time because it's my first time moving out of state. I'm putting everything into this, and the desert's calling me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whereabouts specifically?
Right now, Tempe, Scottsdale area, that's where I have my mind set. I was going to move to Florida, like the warm oceans. I just got to be somewhere warm.
Yeah.
That's where my body is just happy. Like this is a pretty comfortable temperature, objectively. And even for me, I'm a little a little chilly.
Chilly, yeah.
Like I just love being in the hot weather. Like if I'm in the hot, my body's happy and I just feel more in tune. And so I'm really being drawn there. I'm letting go of a lot, and I think I'm stepping into more of who I am and who I'd like to be, and less of what I'd like to present.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that makes me feel really good. Even in coming here, when I've done podcasts in the past, and I brought forth the most excited parts of me and just kept it at that baseline. And I realized that I don't need to really do that. I'm a malleable human being, and I have a wide range of emotions, and I can joke around and I can drop in and be intimate and be, I guess, just be present.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting. I'm still feeling it out. I feel like that's a journey that I will always be walking, but right now I feel like I'm just getting used to being happy with who I am, and I'm really grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be here and doing this and spending this time with you, because you're a very experienced man, and you've given your contribution to this community and just to the people around you. I can see that you're a really genuine person, and so I'm grateful to just be sharing this time. And so I don't feel like I would have that opportunity if I wasn't on this journey of approaching life with genuine curiosity.
Yeah.
And that's why, I ask you the questions that I ask you. And that's why I ask anyone, what I ask them. And a lot of times those are questions that I'm asking myself. Yeah.
I think what you just spoke on is something that's really key, and it's something that it took me years to be comfortable with as well, which is not always having to present yourself in the light that other people view you in a certain way as, or what you want other people to view you as. And it's very interesting because you stated it early in our interview where you mentioned how you had gotten injured several times by trying to show off. And I can relate to that as well. A lot of times where I've had serious injuries is when I didn't even need to do that. I just did it because there was a lot of people around, or I was trying to impress other people and I got injured. But I feel like a lot of us don't necessarily translate that to where you're at right now, which is making sure that you don't show off just for the benefit of other people as far as the way that you present yourself, even in the way that you speak and the words that you exchange and the way that you present yourself, like you said, on a podcast. Because man, I mean, I've hosted live television where I have to translate and transition into this different person where, my friends always joke, it's my Red Bull voice where I'm like, what's up guys? Welcome to today's show,
That was very good.
but when I'm here, I drop the veil and I be a lot more vulnerable, and I speak about things that I held in for years and years and years, down to, flaws of mine, regrets that I have, things that a lot of people always tell me that they're shocked that I share. But that's just kind of where I'm at in my life right now too, which is, I want people to accept me for me, an all-encompassing view of whatever that is. And they can take it or leave it. It may shock some people. But yeah, I respect where you're at, man. I think that's why we clicked so much when we had this brief interaction over the weekend. And it basically spurred me into asking you to come on here just to kind of share your current worldview and perspective.
I appreciate that.
Of course, man. And so, same thing. We could talk about this as little or as much as you want as well. I know one thing that's been instrumental, I won't say the key, but also, instrumental in this journey of self-realization has been the utilization of psychedelics, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yes.
Can you expand upon that so I don't put words into your own mouth?
Yes. So you said that very well, by the way.
Thank you.
And coming from a place of trauma, especially childhood trauma, I grew up a troubled child, flipping over desks and calling my teachers names, and that's something that's shame that I sat with for a long time, and remorse that I sat with for a long time. They didn't deserve that a lot of the times, and I feel like I've built a better relationship with them, and I've gone back and I've made my apology known, and I try to give my love there, and I wasn't really able to process empathy or compassion. And through psychedelics and sitting with myself, I was able to foster those things. It took having the experience of death a couple times to get there, but they've drastically shaped who I am and will continue to do so. And it only takes one positive psychedelic experience to change someone's life.
Totally.
And to touch your heart. Their words are almost clumsy to describe the knowledge and the intimate feeling of knowing oneself that psychedelics can offer someone. And I'm at the point now that I'm no longer a face of a brand, and now that I'm at a older, time in my life, and now that it's coming into the light as something that's no longer taboo, I strive to share this good news and to educate and to provide a space for people to have an opportunity to explore what psychedelics can offer. Because truly, if we are the universe experiencing itself, then psychedelics are a magnifying glass to really see those components. I mean, magnifying glass is even too narrow of a lens. It's a multitude of lenses that allow us to see outside of a perspective that we are normally able to see. And it's given me the opportunity to really heal from my traumas and to love deeper as a person.
Yeah. No, I think that you kind of hit the nail on the head that we're at a point in our lives, just on our own personal journeys, where we can basically drop the veil on a lot of things. But like you said, worldwide acceptance is starting to become a little bit more commonplace with it. You have individuals like Joe Rogan on a massive platform championing, yeah, and he's championing that people should try DMT or ayahuasca or have some sort of experience. He's not saying go out and become a drug addict by any means, but he's saying to open your mind to having one of these experiences to see if it can have a deep-rooted impact upon the way that you view yourself and the way that you view the world. And so, yeah, I think that it is cool that we are entering into this age of acceptance, where I know that I have friends that are massive in the legal marijuana industry right now, own some of the biggest brands in the world, and they are already starting to pivot a good majority of their resources and companies towards mass psychedelic adoption.
Good.
As far as psilocybin and the integration of microdosing into people for mental health and beyond. And so I think that we're living in a cool era, not just in the parkour world and the things that we're able to see on the world stage as far as movement is concerned, but we're also starting to get into an age where we're able to see some advancements also as far as people in their spiritual and mental journeys. So, yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
And with the commercialization that will inevitably come from psychedelics coming out of an unfair place of the shadows,
Totally.
I can only hope that while it's no longer a secret, that stays sacred, and that people approach these tools, and these medicines with grace and respect.
Yes.
Because they will slap you.
100%.
and humble you.
Yes, 100%.
I'm curious, what has psychedelics done for you in your life?
Man, to be really honest with you, that's what's very interesting, and it's going to be a very interesting way to explain this to you, because I've had experiences with them, the majority of which were when I was a lot younger in college, and I'll say that I had such insane experiences with them that opened my eyes, that I've had the opportunity to do them more recently, and for lack of a better term, I've told my friends that I'm actually not ready, in the sense that I know what it's going to open my eyes to in a certain regards. And I've told them I'm just not ready to have that one-on-one, because as you know, most times, if you're microdosing, you're going through a lot lower vibrational type thing on it. But when you go onto these heroic doses or anything larger than that, in my personal opinion, it always comes down to this one part of it where you have a very, very self-reflective one-on-one that can be a great positive thing, but you can also feel like you're a tiny microscopic speck on this larger thing on the planet. And for me personally, I just know that where I'm at right now, I've told some of my friends, like, I'm not ready to have that one-on-one. And it's crazy to say that, because I know the positive benefits that can come from it. But something inside of me has told myself over the last little bit that there's a little bit more that I want to deal and cope with and achieve outside of it before I have that introspective talk, if that makes sense.
I think being able to identify that you're not ready and have the humility to do so internally, I feel like that's beautiful. And only you really know when you're ready to have that experience.
Yes.
And I'm curious, what is it that you'd like to build for yourself to be ready for that experience?
And that's kind of a loaded question, I guess, right? I think one thing is, I think one thing is from the outside perspective, a lot of people think that I have a lot figured out, and I'm very blessed and thankful to say that I do in a lot of regards. I'm healthy, I'm living, I'm kicking. I'm still blessed to have a career and food on the table and clothes on my body and a shelter over my head.
Very stylish ones.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Shout out to Virgil, R.I.P. But yeah, with that being said, I'm at that point in my life where I am very conscious that I am getting older, and I'm at the age right now where I don't like to look at timelines, but there are certain things that I still want to accomplish, and not to put it on timeline, but felt that I may have already accomplished at this point, if that makes sense.
Like what?
Just certain things business wise, just certain things goal wise. And for a long time, it's because I just got in my own way, or I allocated too much time and resources
Can't
towards
get in our
one
own
other
way.
thing, you know? And so, the reason why is that I'm getting to that point right now where I'm kind of just betting on myself. So for the last 10 years, I was a slave to the movie and entertainment industry. And that's because it's such a blessing. I was making astronomical amounts of money, getting to travel the world, work with my friends here and there. But I'm at that point right now where it doesn't really serve me anymore. And I feel like I put a little bit too much time and effort into those and not into pursuing my own passion projects and things outside of that. And so they may sound rudimentary and almost dumb, but I've spoken on this on previous JAMCast recently, where I've turned down some major motion pictures that would have taken me to the end of this year. I would have made multiple six figures on these deals, but it just doesn't serve me. And I'm at the point right now where I want to focus on some of my own personal businesses. I want to work on doing some video projects, as simple as vlogging certain events that are in my life, which I should have been doing for the past decade, because I've gotten to be behind the scenes at some of the coolest events in the world and just never did it for the sake of being like, I didn't want to have that unprofessional view of myself out there where I had such a professional view on the other side. That's where I'm at right now, which is basically just going after things that I've always wanted to do, even if they don't bring in as much money as I've been used to over the last few years, just to serve my own soul.
Money is a tool, and ultimately the relationship that you have with your own values and your own projects and your own soul is priceless.
Yes.
And I'm very happy to hear that you're pursuing those instead of, money.
Yeah. Which is crazy, because I feel like that's one thing that everyone seems to be chasing at one point in their lives, and either some people continue to get stuck in the rat race, or they hit this fork in the road where they decide to choose either personal happiness and satisfaction, or they stay a slave to the game. And right now I'm going on the road less traveled, and it's a little scary, because obviously I've been in this, I've been in this system for so long, and I worked so hard to get my name up to this certain point in our industry. But yeah, it's going to be a very interesting next couple of years for anyone that's out there and that knows me and follows my journey. So.
Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Thank you.
Especially as our friendship develops.
Yeah, man.
Like, I feel like whatever you put your mind to, you'll make it into something beautiful.
I appreciate that.
And I feel like exploring, we're on very similar paths. Like,
yes.
I'm
with life right now.
I'm making art and exploring the things that truly fulfill me.
Yeah.
And while I haven't had the opportunity to make multiples of six figures and do motion pictures, I'm so glad that you've been able to do that.
Thank you.
So awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm at a point where I'm taken care of both by the doors that I've walked through and the doors that I've had the ability to open, the people who have loved me enough to support my journey, and I have the room.
Yes.
Like we have different bank accounts, but we are both in a very similar place where we have the room to do what we love. And I feel like that's the beauty of, that's the beauty of life.
Yeah.
And the beauty of experience. And I'm grateful that I could put food on my table and that I don't have to be in the rat race.
Yeah.
And, I truly hope that everyone finds that space for themselves, because everybody has a skill. And even if they don't, they have so much potential to learn something that allows them to contribute to their community and to the world in a way that's specific to them. And I feel like our structures are not made to highlight to highlight those things, and I feel like there's a duality of things happening. I mean, there's things happening on, some say, a great reset and a great awakening.
Yep.
And I would like to contribute to a great awakening, and I see you doing that as well. And that starts with having the awakening in ourselves and pursuing what's truly important to us.
Yeah, man. I'll just say from a personal standpoint, and not to speak for everyone as a whole, but bank accounts don't translate to happiness.
No.
And that's why that cliche quote exists where it says money can't buy happiness. And everyone always says, well, if I was a millionaire, I feel like I'd have a different answer. Well, I'm going to say this. I know people that are millionaires, and they're not always the happiest people. You know, they still struggle with certain things, whether that be, you know, health issues, or it could even just come down to being stuck in that race where, you know, once you hit that million, then you need 10 million, and then you hit 10, you need 100. And you're just in this constant circle of unsatisfaction of trying to get to the next level that can ultimately lead you to just not being happy. And I'm at that point right now where I just want to wake up every day and just feel satisfied with the choices that I make and be able to have a smile on my face. And I feel like the people that bet on themselves, as long as they continue to work hard at doing so, you can't just bet on yourself and be lazy. But if you bet on yourself and you work hard, things will fall into place. And in the end, you'll get the most satisfaction out of what you achieve. So.
Well said.
That's where I'm at. I appreciate that, man. So with that being said, like, obviously you've mentioned that right now you're focused on, you know, taking a step back, focused on yourself. You're working on this art, potentially moving out to the desert, which is really funny. We'll have to talk about down the road because I'm looking at properties in Arizona as well.
Oh, wow.
Just
kick it.
synchronicity. And so this is a question that I always ask everyone. And so I'm curious what your answer will be to kind of sum it all up. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now? And then where do you see yourself 10 years from now?
I'm going to need to drink water.
Definitely
going
gonna
to
yeah.
that.
This is that's one that most people are like, oh, let me think about this one.
You know, in the current state of society, I don't expect there to be a 5 years, and that's not coming from, you know, doomer
Totally.
you know, perspective, but so much is changing.
Yes.
That I don't know that I can put my finger on where I will be. I know I can tell you though what I'll be striving to do.
Okay.
I'm striving to put myself in a place where I can build a platform to build cash flow so I don't have to worry about finances through contributions that help people. And, you know, whether that be through products or through my art, that's something that I am building as a structure and a platform to give me more room to be able to do what I'd like, when I'd like to do it, and to support the people that I care about. And I would hope to be in a place where I have that cash flow as a tool and as a platform to fund the people and the projects, and to just finance-wise leave things alone. And so really that's what I'm doing in this next chapter. I'm leaving so many beautiful friendships behind, you know, my romantic relationships. I'm sacrificing a lot for the pursuit of building the structures to have this platform to then go on and build myself further. And I think that it would probably take about 5 years to really do that. A lot of work, a lot of sacrifice. Yeah. And I'm scared. I'm not gonna lie. I find myself nervous, but it's a call to adventure that, that I find myself satisfied with. And I think right now it's a lot of letting things go, and it's a lot of wrapping things up, bringing closure to things, getting myself set up practically to make this move. And so I haven't given the 5-year timeline much thought.
Mm-hmm.
Right now it's very hyper focused on the immediate this year, to then give myself the platform to reflect on where I'll be in 5 years.
Being present.
If that answers your question.
Yeah. You're more concerned with the present right now, which pretty much sums up what we've talked about this whole time. And I can appreciate that as well, because if someone were to ask me where I want to be in 5 years, I'd probably have the same answer, which is I don't have a defined answer, which is rare because my entire life before I always did. I always had everything laid out in my mind. And right now I'm just very happy with where things are day to day, and just try not to take the next day for granted, let alone 5 years for granted from now.
Right. So there's no guarantees on what we have.
Totally.
It sounds cliche, but even tomorrow's not guaranteed.
100%. Yeah.
And we only have the ongoing present of now. And I think that I've only really come to understand that in death before dying.
Yeah.
And having the feeling of losing everything and being dropped back into the present, where I have the opportunity to create the now for myself. And I'm a human being. I mess up. I procrastinate. I go on social media. As more of a consumer role, a consumption role, rather than one that not provides. That's the word I'm looking for. Produces.
Mm-hmm.
But even through all of those things, I feel like I've had the opportunity to learn enough lessons to bring myself back to the present and move forward, connect with amazing people, and continue to open doors for myself that bring me closer and closer to where I'd like to go. And honestly, that place is being able to continue to heal and to bring that healing to others. Now that I actually think about it, I can't tell you a 5-year plan, but I can tell you some of the phases in my life where I would like to go. This first one is building the cash flow and building the pragmatic infrastructure and platform to facilitate the rest of my life on. So I don't have to worry about me. I don't have to worry about my insurance or anything like that. After that, I would like to, in tandem with that, I would like to really explore where I can go with this art, because doing this, I feel a sense of accomplishment and joy that I haven't felt since my heyday in parkour.
Yeah, totally.
And it feels so damn good. So I guess that's like a kind of side quest that's happening with everything. But I find it integrating in with the main quest as well. It's funny. After that, I really want to pursue decriminalization of ethogenic plants in Arizona and nationally. I want to give my contribution and energy to the communities that are already on that, and they have done so much headway to do that. From there, and maybe in tandem, I would like to facilitate healing for my family and for anybody that's open to it, and make a reciprocal relationship. I'm taken care of, they're taken care of. And honestly, if the cash flow is good and that's taken care of, I just want to give, and I want to facilitate that space, because the world fucking needs it.
Yeah.
Like each of us needs it. Like human beings, affluent as you are, or in war-torn, destroyed places, we all have a commonality of some sort of pain,
Totally.
some sort of trauma, some sort of neglect. And I feel like that will always be there in the quagmire of hurt and beauty. That's just the dance of the universe. But I would like to facilitate the healing and be a bridge from hurt to beauty. And I feel like that is something that will truly make me happy inside of my soul. And that's something that will touch my heart. It does touch my heart. And if I can do that for as many people as possible while continuing to do it for myself, then, you know, you could take me away from this world at any time and I'll be okay. I feel like that now, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like if I were to die, there are still things that I wish to do and wish to experience, but I can look back in that flash and know, even with all my flaws and all my mistakes, that I've done my best truly and that it'll be okay. And I feel like that has set me free in a lot of ways. And I still have my everyday anxieties that come along with that as a human being. But I would just like to help as many people share that feeling as possible, because the world is scary and we're scary.
Totally.
Our shadow is scary. And, you know, I'd just like to be a healing, warm space and a light. Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. Well, I'm very much looking forward to it, and I'm glad that we got to catch up and not only do so, you know, over the weekend, but on this platform, so that we can hopefully shed some light onto some people that may be going through similar things or at similar crossroads in their lives, and hopefully this doesn't fall on deaf ears, and yeah, people will get as much out of this as I've been able to myself. So I appreciate you coming through, man. I really thank you for making the time during this short trip of yours, and hopefully, like I said, this isn't the last time, and we'll get the chance to continue to watch our own journey as it progresses over these next few years.
Again, well said. Now bring it in.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, man. So, yo, before we get out of here, man, can you look into this camera and tell people where they can continue to stay up to date with your own personal journey, and where they can follow you or any of the brands that you do want to shout out, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So, just this one?
Yeah.
If you would like to continue watching my journey, you can do so through both of my Instagrams, Deshay and Our Life's Eye. Keep your eye out. I'm going to be doing a lot of good work with Lens Mutation, the name of my art. And right now you can find that on social media as well. Thank you for having me on the JAMCast, and I look forward to the next one.
Hell yeah. With that being said, guys, please be sure to hit that like button, comment, subscribe for brand new episodes each and every week. Join us every Monday for Jam Breakdowns and every Friday for a brand new JAMcast, interviewing influential members of the movement community like Mr. Deshay Jenkins himself. So that being said, guys, I got to give one more very quick special shout out. Thanks for coming through, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Hell yes. And as always, guys, coming through, I'm your host, Travis Wong. Thanks for joining us here on another JAMcast. Until next time, we'll see you all soon. Peace.